Okay. Honorable Eric Adams, Candice Julian, Alexander David, Honorable Jeffrey Aubrey, Luis Emmanuel,
Present.
Gloria Benfield, Secretary, here. Honorable Gail Brewer, Jessica Mace, Victoria Curto Camarato, she's excused. Monty Castaneda, excused. Honorable Bill de Blasio, Harold Miller, excused. Jonathan Soto, excused. Jacqueline De Leon, Honorable Ruben Diaz Jr., Monica Major, Honorable Matthew, Eugene Matthew, Ethan Tucker, Honorable Jalissa Ferreras, Evan Acosta, Cheyenne Agurio, Helen Foreman Hines, Helen Hoffman Konoski, Honorable Letitia James Barbara Sherman, Umir Khan, will excuse. Isaac Herschel,
Present.
from Region 11,
Present.
present. Rita Jones, Honorable Melissa Cass, Susan Tannenbaum, excused. Honorable Andy King, Wayne King,
Present.
Honorable Melissa Margarita, Jessica Ackerman, excused. Modell's Sporting Goods, our chair, Gregory Hamburg.
Here.
Morris Heights Health Center, Gillian Duckley, excused. Municipal Credit Union, Joseph Gugliardo, will. Okay. Neighborhood Housing Services of Staten Island, Joseph Pierre.
Yeah.
Honorable James Ardo Lachey Young.
Excuse.
Okay.
She's excused.
Mrs. Vamasti Patel.
Present.
Honorable Bill Perkins, Taya Barron.
Present.
Victor Reyes, Region 18. Tamika Robinson.
Present.
Christian Rodriguez.
Present.
Honorable Deborah Rose. Elisa Thompson.
Present.
Delia Soto.
Present.
Honorable Scott Stringer, Marilyn Mosley. St. Francis College, Robert Oliver.
It's Edwin.
Present. No,
Honorable Scott Stringer, Marilyn Mosley.
excuse.
Okay, she's excused. St. Francis College, Edwin Matthew.
Yep, present.
Derek
Present.
Tate. Derek Tate.
Right.
Maria Tavares.
Present.
UJA Federation of Jewish Philanthropy, Area Sharansky.
Present.
United Neighborhood Houses, Gregory Brenda.
Here, present.
UPS Janet Gross.
Present.
Linda Waters, First Vice Chair.
Present.
Peter Weiss,
Excuse.
excused. Okay, right now.
Okay, good evening everyone, welcome to our meeting. Happy pre-Thanksgiving, pre-holiday. It's good to see everyone. We don't have a quorum, we need two more for a quorum, but we're gonna move forward with the agenda. But if we don't have quorum, unfortunately we can't vote on any of the materials, but if we have 2 more members attend and achieve quorum, if it's okay with the rest of the board members, we will circle back to approve the items listed. With that said, I'm going to skip over the acceptance of the minutes. Most of you have probably read that, so if it comes to that point where we will need a quorum, I'll come back to that to accept the motions from our previous meeting. We do have 2 members to recognize. I want to acknowledge them, and again, we can't vote to accept them as members, but I believe one of them are here. We have Francisco Feliz, who's the CAB representative for Region 3, Bronx, NAB 5 and 6, who's here today to be recognized as a new member, and Edwin Madao, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, is representative for St. Francis College. Is Francisco here? Okay, no. Is Edwin here? Present. Edwin?
Yeah.
Oh, hi, how are you? Okay, nice to meet you. I'll give you an opportunity to acknowledge the board at this moment, and if we do get quorum, then we'll certainly vote to acknowledge you as a new member. But anything you want to say to address the board at this moment?
I have nothing to say.
Okay, that's good. No problem. Just wanted to give you the floor to be able to do that. So we'll come back to recognizing the 2 new members. Next, so we have the term of one of our board members ending. This will be her last meeting here, our secretary, Gloria Benfield. Gloria has been a member of the CAB for quite some time, and I've known her for the last few years, and really had the pleasure to get to know her and the pleasure to serve on the board with her. In addition to being a member of the CAB, she runs her own foundation. Some of you may be aware of it. She runs G&B Foundations, which raises scholarship money for kids to go to college. She does a tremendous amount of community work. I've attended her fundraising events, and she does a fantastic job. And she does a lot of it just by herself. You know, fundraising itself is a challenge, but she does a pretty impressive job all by herself. But today is her last meeting, so we certainly want to recognize her and her contributions to the CAB. I'll personally miss her, knowing her as a member of this board for a number of years, but I know she'll stay connected to the CAB and will continue to do the community work that she feels so passionately about. So first, let's just a round of applause to just acknowledge Gloria and her time in the CAB, and we'll have a few moments to acknowledge the board at this time.
I'm just going to say, to God be the glory. It has been my honor to serve this board. And from the Community Board 4 to Neighborhood Advisory Board to this wonderful board, it has been an honor, going back to President Lyndon B. Johnson, who would have thought a little young kid trying to make it in an unseemly world would be in such a place to really see what the End Poverty Program was all about and why it was formed. And so it has been my honor to be on the inside and not on the outside. So thank you for letting me get a taste of what it is to be serving our people all over this world and in New York and across this country. Thank you.
Thank you, Gloria. So next up, I'm going to ask artists to come up who's going to give us our financial and program quarterly report.
Hi, good evening. Is this work?
It might be
She's
all.
going to come around and help you put them. Who's this person? Artist. What's your last name?
Thanks, Anita. Good evening. My name is Artis Sandlogan. I work in the budget office of DYCD. I work particularly on the CSBG programs. This is the second report for this fiscal year, and usually it's one of the quarters where there's not much happening, so this is going to be shorter than usual. For the people who are here for the first time, I'm just going to go over the main lines. So as you can see from the spreadsheet, the CSBG budget is split into three areas. The program contracts at $25.7 million, and that represents about 79% of the entire award. The other contractual service, which includes technical assistance and other support areas, represents 6.5%. DYCD personnel takes up $4.7 million, or 14.5%. Those are the broad strokes. For the 79% of the contract, the neighborhood development group of contracts gets 61% of the entire program contracts, and that's split into about 6 or 7 program areas covering a variety of areas such as seniors, middle school programs, housing, healthy services, and so on. In terms of expenses, this report covers the months of July through September. We had to submit this report before the 10th of November, which meant that we were not able to capture any of October's information. So this is only through September. We have expenditures of $1.5 million to date, and that represents 15% of the contract budget, of the program contract budget. We've made payments of 31%, and for the new folks as well, the reason why our payments are greater than our expenditures at this time is because we give our providers an advance at the start of the fiscal year so they can get up and running. They have the funds to start the program. At the end of the year, close to the end of the year, you'll see that the expenses and the payment numbers are closely aligned because we start to recoup those advances. There's not much spending happening in the other contractual services category. The bulk of the funds in that section goes to technical assistance. We have no expenditures at this time. Not something that we worry about because this area spends at about a 98% rate. Oh, you know, I actually think I'm presenting on last meeting's report. Is that right? I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's the wrong one.
Yeah. My apologies. So the numbers are going to look a lot better now for this report. The budget information remains the same. We have spending of $3.7 million in the program contract, and that represents 15%. We have a very small number in other contractual services. It's less than 1% of the entire award. And for personal services, we've spent $1.4 million. If we compare that to the last numbers we had in the September meeting, we've nearly doubled our program contract expenditures from $1.4 million to 3.7. So we have a variance. We've spent $2.2 million more since the last meeting. And the numbers in the other contractual services and personal, they're all new. We had no expenditures at that time. That about wraps up the presentation.
Thank you, Artis. Anyone has any questions on the financial quarterly report at all? No? Okay. Thank you, Artis.
Thank you.
Again, a reminder, we can't vote on accepting a report until we achieve quorum. Next up, I'm going to ask the Deputy Commissioner to come up to give her report.
Hello, how are you? Doesn't it feel like time is going so fast? I feel like I was just here with you guys. It's It's not just me, is it? Good, that's a good thing. Okay, so I feel like it was just summer. It was. So, but we're moving toward Christmas, holiday time. So today, what I want to talk about is the accomplishments, because it's all about reports today. So we're going to talk about outcomes and all the things that we've achieved throughout the first year of the strategic plan. Well, first, I would just want to make a few announcements about some general things that are happening at DYCD. Every year, the mayor announces a time where he recognizes community, not community efforts, customer service in the city. And in keeping with that particular event, we at DYCD also have done something to recognize all the wonderful customer service efforts that we've participated in. So Commissioner Chong recently sent a message, and he has it, it's actually on our website, or on our website, that really talks about all the different accomplishments. So you can go to our website and see all of them, but I'm just gonna give you some of them. First, DYCD, so DYCD budget doubled from 2014. It doubled from 408 million to 812 million. That means we are definitely we are making sure that we get programs funded out in the communities, and that's going to go a long way. We have processed 20,000 contracts since 2014 and over 40 RFPs and 3,500 proposals. Every middle schooler in New York now has access to after school at no cost to their families. So that's great. That's great news. The Cornerstone programs expanded to 94 in New York City Housing Authority developments across the city. Immigrant Services new program model expanded services for children in school and their adult caregivers to include the entire household. It used to be that it was just the mother and then if they had a child. Now it's the entire Hello? Yes. Okay. And with baseline funding, the number of SYAP jobs available to New York City's young people is at the highest level it's ever been in recent history, with more than 70,000 placements. And that doesn't count that is for leaders and all of that stuff. Yeah, you could clap for that. Keep it coming, right? And of course, he acknowledged the fact that we have a CAB, a CAB, and NABs all over the city that partner with us to do our work. And that was really a huge and important acknowledgement. Actually, they gave me a little certificate that I didn't take a picture of, but I should have. That's in my office. So I want to thank you. He thanks you for all the work that you do, for all the thinking that you do with us. And we know that we didn't have partners out there in the community, that the work wouldn't be the way that it is. We would not be able to accomplish the things that we accomplish here at DYCD. For more information, just go to our website so you can see what else is going on. At our last meeting, you might remember that you participated in a little activity where we talked about how the NAB and the CAB could work together. That information should be in your packet, because we took all the information and we put it down in your packet. If you look at the bottom part of that where it says strategies, so what we're gonna do with that is we're gonna take, we're going to take that information and we're gonna do something with it. But I'm not gonna tell you now what we're gonna do. You'll hear that in my report later on when I do the strategic plan update. Every year, we do a toy drive. Has anybody participated in our toy drive? Yeah. Okay, so every year we do a toy drive, and right now that's going on. And the toy drive is really targeted to the neediest families. Last year, I don't know how many toys we collected, but it was like an outrageous number. And usually we go to different places in the city, and then the mayor comes and he also gives out toys at that event. So we will let you know what's happening with the toy drive. If you want to donate to the toy drive, you can get in touch with somebody on Joe's staff, and we'll let you know how you can participate. This is really important, and if you know other people who want to donate, please encourage them to donate. Lots of kids, and especially now, a lot of kids don't have anything to open up on Christmas time or on holiday time. I want to finish by letting you know that it's always good to give credit where credit is due. And we have been involved in a special effort with the Queensborough president staff to fill her seats in the NABs. With the help of Susie Tenenbaum and her colleagues, we have recently admitted 5 new members to the Queens NABs and are approaching a 0 vacancy rate for the Queensborough president's seats. So congrats to her and thank you to her. Over the years, but she's not the only one doing work. We know that over the years, there's been terrific efforts from all the reps and elected officials on the CAB, and continue to be grateful and look forward to the future. That said, keeping these seats warm is really, really, really important for the reasons that we are looking at tonight, where we need quorum, but more than needing quorum, we need people to really to come to meetings, because this is the reason why we're a board, so that we could get our work done. And we can't do our work if every person that's supposed to be here is not here. So thank you for that. What we want to do is really thank you again for all of your commitment and everything that you do. The last thing I want to tell you is that I will be reporting on the strategic plan, but I'm going to do a real quick job of reporting on that, and then Mike is going to do the outcomes report that he did last year. You guys really liked it a lot. Basically, it was, what did we set out to do, and then what did we achieve? So we're going to be doing that tonight. That's why this report is very short. Thank you.
Thank you. Just say your name, please, for the stenographer.
David Alexander. Just one quick question. Is there a deadline to donations for the toy drive? Because you don't want to be overwhelmed after a certain point.
We like being overwhelmed.
Oh, I mean,
do you know?
December 8th.
December 8th.
Okay.
Thank you for asking though. Yeah. But we don't mind being overwhelmed.
Okay. I'm overwhelmed.
Any other questions regarding the Commissioner's report? Okay, I apologize. Someone could just give me the mic. I apologize, we only have one mic working.
Yes. Who had a question?
No, we gotta get that mic, because I think you're holding the one that doesn't work, right?
This is one of them.
Yeah.
Do we have questions?
I think we're good. Thank you, Deputy Commissioner, and I do participate in that toy drive as well. I hold 2 toy drives and donate toys to DYCD. I saw the area where they collect the toys, and you couldn't even imagine how many toys they collected last year and distributed through a lot of their beacon programs for last year. So if anyone is interested and have toys to donate, trust me, it goes to a great cause and it goes to families that can really benefit from it. So December 8th is the deadline. Thanks for asking for that. Next up are the committee reports. So before I turn it over to Linda for the governance report, out of governance, 2 things. So one, we know that the strategic partnership chair position was vacated due to the untimely passing of the chair a few months ago. Last meeting, we didn't have a chance to pass it around, but we do have condolence cards that I'd like to pass around. If you'd like to sign, I think it'd be good to at least give to the family. So as the meeting is going on, we're going to pass these condolence cards, and feel free to, just put a signature or quotes of well wishes to the family. Secondly, out of the governance committee, and I mentioned this the last meeting, a slate has been presented of those CAB members that are interested in the Strategic Partnership Committee Chair position. Although we can't vote on that position until we have quorum, we do have 2 of the 3 members here presently that have shown interest in that position. Isaac Heschel, who represents Region 11, Brooklyn NDA 7, 10, and 12, who was recently installed as a new CAB member and is familiar with the NABs, has shown interest in the position, and Ariel Shuvransky, am I pronouncing that correctly?
That's right.
Okay. Who sits on the board as a representative of UJA Federation. The other member, Rita Jones, who's shown interest, is not present here today.
She's on her way. We're stuck in traffic.
Okay, she's on her way. All right. In any event, Isaac and Ariel is here, so I want to give them an opportunity just to address the board in terms of their interests. And again, if we get quorum before the end of this meeting, we will be voting to fill this slate. So I'll start with Isaac. Oh, you got it. Very polite. Yes, Ariel, anything you want to say to address the board?
Hi, I'm Ariel Sabransky. I'm from UJ Federation. I'm an advocacy and policy advisor there. A lot of the work that I do focuses on advocating for funding at the city and state level for programs, program improvements and resources to ensure that individuals and families have access to the tools they need to live healthy, productive lives. I focus mostly on food assistance programs, adult literacy classes, workforce development programs, and other safety net assistance programs. One of the major components of the advocacy that I do really focuses on the experiences of community members. So I would look forward to being able to use my advocacy background to ensure that your experiences within your communities are effectively incorporated into outreach efforts, bringing the right people to the table to ensure that you get what you need, and making sure the RFPs issued reflect what is necessary from what arises through our conversations. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you. Isaac.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I've been involved with the NAB for many years. Being in an NAB and then being a chairperson of the NAB, I feel that I have some of the necessary qualifications in order to work with the rest of the committee in the strategic partnership, in order to build that bridge, to build that level of communication that's needed for us to improve and get the proper information we need so we can help the community at large. I never had the pleasure of knowing Jackie Bailey. The way people speak about her whoever takes this position has big shoes to fill. And I hope whoever does it will build on her legacy and do right by her memory. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And last but not least, Rita Jones came in, sorry Rita, to put you on the spot, but you were one of the other candidates that shown interest in the strategic partnership committee chair position, so I want to give you the opportunity to address the board.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I'm Rita Jones. I am so sorry I'm late. I was stuck in traffic, wishing I could have flew over those cars, but unfortunately I couldn't. I'm interested in the position because for the past 40 years, I have always been a community advocate. I work with youth. I'm on the community board in my neighborhood, and I just enjoy working with people and trying to see changes and progress made for our young people, for our seniors, for our communities. So if I am elected, that's some of the things I want to work on and work real hard. I'm not going to talk long. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So let's give all our candidates a hand. So we appreciate their interest. So we do have quorum with the additional members that attended, so we're just going to acknowledge the additional members really quickly, and then I would like to go back into the agenda, get us back on track, and then we can move forward.
Mr. Chair, Victor Reyes from Region 18 and Rita Jones from Bronx Region. So therefore, we have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. So we do have a quorum. Thank you again to the candidates. So if we can just circle back a bit to the CAB administration, I'd first like to entertain a motion to accept the minutes of our last meeting. It's been moved by Isaac Heschel. Second, just say your name.
David Alexander.
Seconded by David Alexander. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, those abstaining, there being none, so moved. Thank you for that. Next is the acceptance of Edwin Mathau. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Matthew.
I'm sorry. Okay, so Edwin Matthew is representative for St. Francis College. A motion to accept him as a new member of the CAB.
So moved.
It's been properly moved. Just say your name.
Joseph Pierre.
Thank you.
Second by Gloria Benfield.
Second by Gloria Benfield. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, abstaining, there being none, so moved. Edwin, welcome to the CAB. Next, Artis's financial program quarterly report that was presented earlier. I'd like to entertain a motion to accept that.
So moved. Yes, he is.
Oh,
At least Francisco's here.
Yeah, Francisco.
okay, my apologies. Francisco Feliz, CAB member, Region 3, you're here? Okay, how are you?
Good.
Okay, when we started the meeting, we weren't present, but before we accept you, I want to give you an opportunity to address the board if you'd like to.
Okay, I am happy and honored to serve my community through our community. I am here to work the community with you all.
Welcome.
Welcome. We like people that work, so you're fitting real well. Great. So I'll entertain a motion now to accept Francisco Feliz, CAB representative Region 3, as a new CAB member. Properly moved by Isaac Heschel.
Second by Tamika Robinson.
Second by Tamika Robinson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, abstaining, there being none, so moved. Francisco, welcome to the CAB.
Thank you.
Now I entertain a motion to accept the financial quarterly report.
So moved.
It's been moved by Monica Major,
Second.
second by Joseph Pierre. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, abstained, there being none, so moved. Next, the Deputy Commissioner's report. I'd like to entertain a motion to accept that report.
So moved.
It's been moved by Linda Walters,
Second by Tamika Robinson.
second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, Abstaining? There being none? So moved. So now, as we move into the governance report, I think we can pass around now the ballots for...
Ballots have been passed.
Okay, so the ballots have been passed. So as the governance committee report is being read, please fill out the ballots and give back to a member of the CAB.
Wait. We have to ask for nominations.
Oh, yeah.
Additional nominations?
It's, yeah.
Gotcha.
Everybody wants to nominate.
Gotcha, okay.
You have to be here to be nominated.
Gotcha. All right. So thanks for clarifying that. I did forget about that. So are there any additional members that would like to be considered for the strategic partnership chair position that's present here? Any additional nominations? No? Okay. Thank you.
So the ballots have been passed out. They should just check your candidate.
Okay. So the ballots are passed out. Just check your candidate that you're interested in, fold the paper, and a member of DYCD will pick that up.
We also need 2 volunteers to come on the board.
Okay, so I'll get that one.
Pick up the ballot.
Okay, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
The committee met on October 25th, and the minutes are in the board packet, page 11. At the committee meeting, we discussed the following. I believe everybody have this, so you can just follow along. Updates on CAB election/vacancies, which include nominations for a third vice chairperson, what Mr. Hambrick discussed. An email was sent to all members to see if anyone was interested. We have Region 3, Bronx 5 and 6. Elections is underway for Mr. Francisco Velez. And updates on other vacancies. Region 16 for Queens, NAB 1, 2, and 5. And Brooklyn Chairperson Representative. The absentee report. DYCD staff reported that all members are in good standing since the new rules and bylaws were just recently put into effect. I don't have my reading glasses. Old and new business. A CAB training was held on October 30th, 2017. This training is for new CAB members that joined the board after May 2017. This training will be offered every 6 months according to our oversight. CAB members training must be given within the first 6 months after joining the board and once every 2 years. Any questions?
Thank you, Linda. Any questions regarding the governance committee report? Okay, I'll entertain a motion now to accept the governance committee report.
So moved.
Motion made by Rita Jones. Second by Joseph Pierre. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Those abstaining? There being none, so moved. Thank you. Next, we'll have our program committee report by Tamika Robinson.
The committee met on October 15th, and you can refer to the board packet on page 12. The staff reported on the accomplishments and the progress for the following areas: customer satisfaction data, participants often feedback from their experiences in the programs. Under training and communication, there's ongoing training for the general board, ethics training, and also Roma training. And that's done throughout the fiscal year. The next Roma training is going to be May of 2018. And in order for the IT systems to be improved, DYCD will be rolling 2 new systems in order to track program performance. One is the participant tracking system, which is a PTS, and the second is Evaluation and Monitoring System, EMS. The community needs assessment distribution will be done within presentations by NAB members, to NAB members, providers, and elected official representatives. In terms of enhancing NAB and integrating community needs assessment results into DYCD program and operations. They also discussed common lenses and approaches for providing holistic services, and one of the programs is the Brownsville convening with non-for-profit providers of services, NDA. These convenings will continue into the future in various NDAs across the city. And under health assurance access, DYCD has partnered in various health fairs in collaboration with health and hospitals. Assistant Commissioner Mike Bobbitt gave the CSBG annual outcomes report, and he's actually going to present on that during our session today.
Thank you, Tamika. Any questions on the program committee report? If not, I'll entertain a motion now to accept the program committee report. So moved by Isaac Heschel.
Second.
Second by Gloria Benfield. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Abstaining? There being none, so moved. Next is the Strategic Partnership Committee report, which I chaired the last meeting. Was probably the most well-attended in recent times, so that was encouraging to see. A lot of what was discussed, you know, I know Joe C. can elaborate, but we talked a lot about the ambassador program, service mapping, and community networking. Where it goes for the NAB members to really go out into the community and talk about the community needs or get information regarding the community needs, and really bringing it back to the CAB and to DYCD to really map those regions and areas that can most benefit from those needs, so we can make sure that CSBG funding is really targeted for those specific areas. So there's a lot of good feedback at that particular meeting regarding that. We also talked about obviously voting for the new chairperson for the committee at that meeting. And then we also talked about various programs that you as CAB members are involved with, or events that you either chair or that you oversee that sometimes we're not aware of. And we really opened it up to anything that you have going on in your community, anything that you think would be beneficial. Please feel free to bring it to DYCD and to CAB. We'll be happy to promote that event and send emails out so that event can be supported by fellow CAB members. And that was basically in a broad overview what we discussed at the Strategic Partnership Committee meeting. Any questions regarding that? And if not, I'll now entertain a motion to accept the Strategic Partnership Committee report. It's been moved by Linda Walters.
Second, David Alexander.
Second by David Alexander. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Those abstaining? There being none, so moved. So thank you for that. I do believe the votes are still being tallied, so while that is taking place.
No, we need 2 volunteers from the CAB.
Oh, got it. So we need 2, this is where the checkers and balances come in. So we need 2 volunteers from the CAB to help tabulate the votes for the chair of the Strategic Partnership. Any 2 members? Okay, just say your name for the record so we have that. Okay, one more? Say your name, please. Lisa Thompson. Okay, great. So just need you to meet with the staff in the back to help tabulate that. Thank you for volunteering. Now I believe I'm going to ask Mike Bobbitt to come up, who's going to present on the annual report on CSBG funding. Oh, it's going to be my friend Sandra. And then, okay, got it.
So we have two parts.
What do you get rid of?
Only one working today.
So we have two parts of our outcomes report, and part one is on the strategic plan, all the components of it, so I'm gonna go through it really quickly, and then Mike is gonna do the outcomes piece. Yes. Okay. Navigate, that'd be great. So you might remember that we did a strategic plan, and we are reporting tonight on the first year of implementation. And you're not gonna get the actual report of the implementation until January, because we still have to plan on what is gonna happen for the second year implementation, even though we have some things already. It also has to be approved by the commissioner. Okay, so this report is really going to be done in three parts. What we've completed, what's still in progress, meaning that we started it, but it's still in progress and it can't be completed until the second year. And where we went, we're a little bit of an overachieving agency, so we went above and beyond. We did some things, actually, we heard it from the report earlier. Some of those components are in there. And finally, we will talk about what's on the horizon. What are we going to do next? Where do we think we're going for the second year? So what we completed was on Roma, we completed the state reports, and we met 86% of the approach standards. And you know that over time we kept meeting the different standards. And then on the tracks report, we did 95%. And the tracks report was a little bit more complicated because you might remember that it was not just the standards, but it was a whole bunch of indicators as well. So doing 95% is a pretty good deal. There's also 3 additional staff who got certified in Roma, totaling 5. When you hear about what's on the horizon, we're going to keep increasing that number. We trained over 100 CAB and NAB members on Roma. The customer satisfaction survey happened in October 2017. It was revised somewhat. I think we had a better version of the survey. It was conducted, collected, and analyzed, and had more positive results. I cannot tell you the specifics of that, but Mike will in his report. Training and development. Obviously, we think that that's an important piece of the work, to continue to train people, to continue to develop the work that we've done. So we trained new CAB members as well as previous members. Trainings have been routinized to occur every 6 months, and you heard that in the program report, and ongoing training for NAB members. That's continuous. The other thing that we completed, which was the big chalupa of what we've done over time, was the community needs assessment. But we did not only do the community needs assessment, we did not only conduct it. There was an analysis done of that community needs assessment. We developed an executive report, which you all saw, and then we developed a community-friendly booklet that had the same data, but that was easy for the community to consume. We also took out from that, extrapolated from that, the localized reports for the 42 NDAs. We developed a distribution plan at the beginning. The state expected us to do that, and actually we ended up disseminating to nearly 3,000 of the CNA brochures, and we are on target to meet that goal. Now, we not just disseminated through our website, but we actually gave out those community-friendly booklets. We also have talked about the CNA and its results to almost everybody who, certainly in community development, every staff member has had a meeting on the results of that community needs assessment, and we continue to present that to all the providers that come to the DYCD to meet for some reason or another. We steal 10, 15 minutes from them so that we could continue to do. So you guys are famous. If you don't know, a lot of people know about this now. The CAB members have been made aware of operational regulations and bylaws, rules, COI, and the whistleblower policy last September. We'll continue to do that every year, every September. I don't know if Joe had plans to do that more often. You might remember that a big piece of the strategic plan was that we were going to overhaul all our different information systems. That's all our reporting systems, participant tracking systems, all those kinds of things, contracts and that. So we've overhauled all those systems. The EMS system went live in September of 2017, and the participant tracking system is completing development and will go live in March of 2018. In progress, we're working to keep the community needs assessment relevant and evergreen. So what we're going to do, we're going to use resource and service mapping to do that. Currently, Joe and his staff is training NABs and on resource and service mapping. That's part of that ambassadors program. Enhancing the NABs, currently developing the ambassadors program, NAB member capacity building, and NAB networking. And that was the piece that I said before, that we're going to use your strategies to form a work group that will help us to really develop those, think through those strategies, develop them, and then really get them into the strategic plan as a formal part of the strategic plan for year 2. We went above and beyond. Now, none of this was part of the strategic plan, but we plan to make it part of it. We're going to add it as addendums, right? Because this was part of the settlement house principles, all of the work that came out of that. So we hosted some health fairs, which you already heard about from the program report. We also did some convenings, which are, we've been meeting in Brownsville. This will be our 4th meeting in January, but those meetings are going very well. They're very well attended. We have like about 40 people come to every meeting, and it's all about what is the tipping point in Brownsville? How does Brownsville get to access services, and how do the people in Brownsville change their own community, as opposed to us coming in there and saying we're going to change their community? What do they need? How can we support them? That's what those convenings are for. And then finally, we have the older youth provider convenings, and that is really to develop a pathway between all the programs that are workforce at DYCD to strengthen them, but also to build referral systems between them. What we're doing with that pathway is the same thing that we want Brownsville to set up their system, so that they can refer within that community and they can leverage their resources. Finally, on the horizon, this is what's to come. We intend to incorporate the community needs assessment findings into the agency programming. And what do I mean by this? Well, we're going to integrate different information that we have at DYCD, for example, discretionary has a bunch of contracts that funds food pantries. We know that from the community needs assessment, that was one of the highest priorities, that people were hungry, they needed food, and they needed food often. That meant to us that that was a critical problem that we had to address. So what we're doing in Brownsville, for example, is that we will take the list of all those programs and give it to all those different people so that they know where to go near their community if they have to send somebody to a food pantry or someplace where they can get food distribution. The other is we noticed that there's a low number of SYP programs in certain communities. So we did a search through zip codes to find out where do we have to encourage community-based organizations to go for the next RFP of the SYP programs so that you could have a better distribution of SYP, because oftentimes young people do not apply because it's just too far from home. Finally, we will begin, we've begun to develop the concepts about the youth contingency for the NAB. That will happen in this next year. And the CAB Partnership Committee, this is the one that I'm talking about, that we want to have people, this work group from the NAB and the CAB come together to develop those strategies that will then be incorporated to the next iteration of the strategic plan for 2018 year 2. We will give you a copy of the completed report for year 2 at your next meeting, and if you have any questions, you can ask.
Do you know, great. Do you know already the zip codes, those areas where there's a low enrollment rate for that SYE?
We have identified those places. Andre gave me, we did it by zip code, but we also did it by NDA, so we kind of know where those places are. So there's some places in Brownsville in particular that don't have, and then the neighborhood right next door has a bunch of them. So how are we going to get the community-based organizations to apply, give them technical assistance or capacity building between now and then so that they can apply for the program? Yes.
Alexander, sorry. I'm Brownsville. What you were talking about. 2 questions. I'm going to get to the first one. Maybe I overlooked it or didn't see it, but I don't recall being invited to those.
We can.
Because I've been told about them, but I said, well, what is it?
Can you just let me know, we'll add you to the invitations list, and you can bring people to that meeting. The next one is January 17th.
January 17th?
Yes, actually, we just had one, Mike, you're next. We had a meeting scheduled for December 8th, but there's another planning meeting. You know, they have a whole bunch of networks. Are you going to that?
Yeah, I'm going.
On this end. So that's why we had to cancel it. But the discussions are rich. We're gonna have, you gotta come to the next one. It's gonna be so good.
I need to be there. I'm saying, I'm like,
It's gonna be so good. You cannot miss it.
And one more question. Are the community boards being alerted to these events?
No, because because so far it's been providers, but anybody could come if you know people on the community board that should come, they should come.
Yeah, I'm on the community board, and we have committees that specifically deal with each of the elements that you're talking about, so that we can try, if the programs don't exist in Brownsville, we can try to bring them in, so they really do need to be there.
Can me and you have an offline conversation, because I need you. I need you.
Thank you, Deputy Commissioner. Okay. So like a fine-tuned machine, right? This is the third year in a row where we've been able to summarize the agency's work in about 10 minutes, right? So stay tuned. So a copy of the PowerPoint presentation is going around for your convenience. We have it up on the big screen again. Before I get started, the Deputy Commissioner, I believe, had a question. So you'll remember in last year's Community Needs Assessment data, we had participant satisfaction survey for about 539 participants. And so DYCD as a learning organization, we will continue to survey participants every year to understand their level of satisfaction with the program. So the data that the Deputy Commissioner was referencing, we actually almost doubled. We have about 900 respondents this year. We're not presenting that data at this meeting, but we'll present it to probably the next program committee meeting so that we can apprise the board. But we do continue to enjoy high levels of satisfaction among participants who have been served. So the Deputy Commissioner gave a very thorough update for the board in terms of where we are in our strategic direction. And a compliment to that, to let you know, as an outgrowth of all the hard work all the staff has been doing, I'm happy and privileged to be able to share what the results have been. So a few of these slides we don't really need to go over because the Deputy Commissioner just went over them, so I can kind of go to the meat. But let me remind you, and another board member, about board meetings, we've talked about this, the Federal Department of Health and Human Services has established for the Community Action Network a number of organizational standards. And the Deputy Commissioner referenced those earlier. We were reviewed in 2016 for the across, and her report is actually much more detailed than this slide. So you see the trend from 33 standards during her presentation saying we made 44 standards, from the 44 going up to 46, actually 47 standards, and a very high degree of compliance that feeds right into our results. As a reminder, and I believe I shared this at last year's presentation, although we operate on the federal fiscal year, which starts October 1st and ends September 30th, the state understands we contract with the community-based organizations like the way the rest of the city pretty much does business, which is on the July 1st to June 30th. So we have better, clearer to be able to share with the board reporting, because we can report to the state the same way that you would understand, the same way we hold the CBOs accountable. So this is that data. In our NDA high school portfolio, we projected to serve 1,200 high school age youth. We served 1,381. In terms of the outcome of that program, projected academic improvement, we projected 625 outcomes. We had 767. So we're pleased with the performance, the overperformance, and we think that that trend will continue. In terms of the NDA Opportunity Youth Program, last year we projected to serve 688 youth. We served 735, and those are 16. For high school, it's anywhere high school age, freshman to senior year, teenage years. For Opportunity Youth, any youth is eligible if they reside in the NDA and they're not presently working or at school, so it's between the ages of 16 and 24. We projected 445 youth would demonstrate work readiness skills, and we had 277 that met that outcome. So one word about that outcome. This is the third year of a new program area, and as the Deputy Commissioner mentioned, we are moving the entire CSBG portfolio over the course of the next year to a new reporting system. There was a minor administrative issue that needed to be clarified, and so this outcome was entered into the system as a benchmark. And because of this distinction, you might have targets that lead to outcomes. There were some discrepancies in the CBOs entering their data, and that explains why the data was down. So when we come back next year, we should be able to talk to you about what the performance really has been all along, what the performance will be again next year. But that explains that discrepancy. Is pace good? Chair? Okay.
Good.
NDA housing portfolio, we projected to serve 2,800 persons at risk or in need of safe or adequate housing. We actually served 3,016. That projected output there, 1,300 individuals or families who resolve their housing problems, we had 1,334. So that's right on target, right where we want to be. The NDA Healthy Families Program helps individuals or families who need to access benefits or services. So it's a pretty broad-ranging set of needs it may present. So we projected to serve 3,400 individuals or families, and indeed we serve 3,445. In terms of projected outcomes, individuals or families achieving the benefits and services. Remember, our staff goes out to validate outcomes, so they look for documentary proof that the family that came in got what it is that they were seeking. So we projected 2,040 outcomes. We actually had 2,174. So that portfolio, again, yes, please.
Sorry if I missed it, but what does NDA stand for?
Oh, thank you. The neighborhood acronym, the Neighborhood Development Areas Initiative. The bulk of our CSBG funding goes to targeted programs in each of the 42 neighborhood development areas. So when we're using that acronym NDA, that's a shorthand for the 42 neighborhoods where we focus and where the NABs do their localized work. So that's Healthy Families. In terms of the NDA Seniors programs, I just want to remind the audience, seniors programs may offer one of two different types of outcomes. Some focus on social, cultural, and recreational activities, keeping our seniors vibrant, while others, like the Healthy Families program, focus on helping the seniors access benefits and services. We have some providers that do both. We projected to serve 3,500 seniors, and in fact we served 3,689, so that's right on target again. And in terms of our outcome rates, we like very much how the past year went. We projected 1,400 seniors would attain benefits and services. We had 1,489. We projected 1,100 seniors would demonstrate positive well-being, and that's a function of recurring attendance at meetings, participating in activities. Sometimes when we show you detailed presentations, they are doing anything from arts and crafts and dance to intergenerational activities, healthy nutrition, etc. And we were right on target with 1,154 outcomes. In the NDA Adult Literacy portfolio, we projected to serve 1,565 individuals. We were right on target with 1,636. Related to the two outcomes of that program, some individuals may be coming in to increase their adult basic education. Others may be coming in to obtain the high school equivalency degree. And every year there can be some flow or some flux. But we're pretty close to our targets in both populations. We projected 506, and we actually had 404 outcomes there. And we projected 188 HSE outcomes. We had 160 outcomes there. Finally, related to the seventh component of the NDA initiative is NDA Immigrant Services. And there you can see pretty nicely, fairly dramatically exceeded projections. We projected to enroll 1,248 individuals and families. We had 1,420. And there's a component promoting literacy in that portfolio as well. Out of a projected 544, we had 773 outcomes. We think that dramatic increase, and I think CAB will appreciate, may in part be to the changing climate related to immigration issues. So we have a lot of participants presenting looking for services. The Immigrant Services Family portfolio, and this is the first year of the new model we've presented on previously. We were projected to serve 471. This is the final year of the old model. We projected to serve 471 families, and we had close to that target, 453. And in terms of the outcome for that, we were pretty much right on target. From a projected 236 outcomes, we had 230. There are a number of portfolios, actually 4 program areas, which DYC has overseen historically. I want to remind the CAB that under the de Blasio administration, all legal services are overseen by Human Resources Administration. So we work closely with HRA related to the continued oversight of these 4 program areas I'll go over now. So under the Immigrant Services Legal Assistance, out of a projected 1,069 individuals enrolled, they served 1,354. And providing applications for residency and citizenship, we're near that target. It's projected 753. We had 646. So again, as I said, when you see increased enrollment, it's probably relating to the same issue. The federal climate is compelling immigrant New Yorkers to come forward for services. Our immigrant youth, our immigrant youth portfolio, out of a projected 191 enrollees, there are actually 271 enrollees served, and we projected 85 youth would obtain those outcomes, and the actual outcome was 138, so dramatic performance in that portfolio as well. There is a portfolio that targets domestic violence and some survivors of human trafficking. So from our projected 200 victims of DV, there were an actual 257 served, and outcomes were in line with our projections. From a projected 50 receiving benefits and services, there were 56. The immigrant workers portfolio similarly had good performance. From a projected 320 enrolled, we had 334. And projected to resolve work issues, benefits, pay, etc. From a projected 190, we're pretty close to the target with 153 individuals. Yes, please.
So these
Just say your name, please.
Hi, sorry, Lisa Thompson.
Thompson?
These Thompson. These initiatives, are they funded via baseline funding?
No, they are funded through CSBG. So through the Community Service Block Grant. So this this report entails the year-end results and the quarterly reporting we provide to the New York State Department of State for our use of the Federal Community Services Block Grant. So I'm going over what our projected actual performance was with those portfolios that are funded with that funding.
All of these?
Correct. Yeah, exactly. No, it's actually a very good question. So we're not talking about city-funded programs, but in this instance, even though we are talking about a program that's currently being overseen by HRA, it's a CSBG program, and because we're the community action agency for the city of New York, we retain accountability for that program, and HRA liaises with DYCD in terms of the continued use of those funds. Okay, no, sure. So that concludes the work we do with HRA. So I'll move back for a moment to our other literacy program. Our adolescent literacy portfolio, from a projected 159 enrolled, we served 157. And in terms of educational outcomes, we projected to serve 85 and actually served 52. So I just want to check my notes. I believe that, like one of the areas I had mentioned earlier, it relates partly to a database systems area that we've been looking to address. It's one of the things we're looking forward to when we move to the new system, where interim measures we look for benchmark certain outcomes haven't been recorded correctly. So we're looking forward to seeing that improve. In terms of the adult literacy, English as a second language programs, they were right on target from a projected 558. Enrolled, we had 600. Yes. Sorry.
Monica Major.
The adolescent literacy, what age group, what age range?
That is the target's middle school. So what are the years? Is it 13, 14? I know it's the middle school.
No, middle school is
Like 7th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, yeah. 11, 12, 13. Yeah, thank you. And for ESOL, we were on target from a projected 323 outcomes. We had 325. With relation to the fatherhood initiative, and this one I find particularly interesting. You may recall last year we talked about some emerging challenges in the programs that target younger fathers. So there's been an option that targets 16 to 24-year-old dads, and that part of the initiative past couple of years is really struggling to enroll and retain people. But overall performance was good. So you see from a projected 1,200 dads served, we served 1,006 dads, but we had better than expected outcomes. So that says, I think that says, I'm talking to the director about this, the efficacy of the program has actually been great, even though we've had the retention challenges for the adolescents. So from a projected 420, we actually served 436. And I want to remind the CAB that, as I mentioned, we just have updated the immigrant families model. We've also updated the fatherhood model, and one of the changes we made was related to that recent finding. And so now, instead of having programs that specifically only deal with adolescents, the next time we do this report, all the programs can serve dads age 18 and up. So it should help them with their recruitment, but we've also realized when the dads are older, they're actually able to have conversation with older fathers as well. That's anecdotally what we learned, so we changed the model to support that and what's been happening. Summer Youth Employment Program, from our projected 3,635, we served 3,832. And of the outcomes completing the summer program, we thought we'd have 3,417. We were near that mark with 3,349. So there's a little bit of churning and turnover in that portfolio, but overall projections were in line with our expectations. Yes, please.
Again, Lisa Thompson. So the SYP numbers does not include the city funding?
That's
that
correct.
we have
This
for
is
the
only,
SYP?
that's perfect. That is only considering the CSBG funded slot. So obviously this universe is a much smaller part of the agency's overall investment SYP.
Thank you.
Right. And I guess I should add, since we said that, this is what has happened related to those slots and that funding, but we shouldn't extrapolate in terms of the overall funding level. I mean, certainly the SYP as an initiative delivered commensurate with what we expected with the larger number of enrolled slots. As we know, we've shared previously, CSBG also funds some of the technical assistance initiatives by the agency. So related to the family development credential, from a projected 150 participants that would participate in that program, we enrolled 128. And again, the efficacy of the program seems to be right there. We projected 117 persons would complete their program and demonstrate a portfolio that shows they understand family systems and can do that work. And we met that goal with 117. We provide a range, the agency provides a range of training, and CSBG pays for a portion of that funding. So of that funding, we projected 2,463 persons would receive training. We met that with 2,451. And in terms of projecting they had gained skills as a result of that training, we exceeded projections. We projected 1,700, 1,859 persons reported satisfaction and skills gain as a result of the training they received. The last number is interesting to me. It's a small number, but it tells a good story. Over the past few years, DYCD has made an institutional change to deliver more and more training. So if you look back to the reports from a couple of years ago, you might have had smaller numbers there and larger numbers in terms of on-site customized assistance. So institutionally, we've moved away from that business, but we still over-delivered in terms of our availability and our ability to provide that service when it's been requested. So we projected 45 on-site engagements, but in fact, we delivered 80. So sometimes that's a result of the direct training where people have made a customized assistance to DYCD, and DYCD has certainly responded to that. I'm going to share the next two slides, and I'm going to ask you collectively, don't worry about the data that I'm about to share right now, okay? This is why. CSBG does not really pay for the capacity building the agency itself does. But as a function of the reporting we do to the state, they ask about this kind of information, we share this information, and we want to have fidelity that we're reporting to you, the same information we report to the state. So when you see variances, it really relates to the way our HR department does its projections, may be very different from the way our CBOs do the direct services projection. So you'll see certain things are exactly on target, it makes sense. Like, you know, the EEO training, we said we would train 499, we trained 477, but we don't really need to worry as an institution if we said we're going to do a diversity training and we didn't do it, because the schedule for these things, it's not everything every year. And so part of what we're learning, since we have to report this to the state, is how we report it to the state. We're changing some of the projections next year away from these projections, right? So like, if you look at the next page, so those look under, okay, fine. But then if you look at these, things look dramatically over. So the Department of Investigation is right in line where we thought we'd be. But the anti-corruption training, we thought we projected 125. Actually, we served 575. So you know we've done the training. We've done the training for all staff. It just doesn't meet the projection. And so periodically we know we need to update things. That's really the story for all of the HR items. So finally, I'll bring it home to you and bring it home to us. We're asked to articulate the number and the range of partnerships that DYCD has. So if you look across the, if you look down the first column, you will actually find yourselves. So the first item, the nonprofit agencies, that's the number of delegate agencies we've contracted with for CSBG. We projected we'd work with 267 delegates. We actually had 268 contracts. It comes out to 100%, or 100.blah, blah, blah percent. And then the rest of it is you, in terms of faith-based members of the CAB or institutions of higher learning, et cetera, et cetera. And the only variance there was a simple miscalculation on our part. We remembered the 5 borough presidents and a few other public stakeholders, and there was some clerical thing. We forgot exactly which bucket Summerview were in. So we revised, instead of projecting 8, we will project 15 for next year, but that's the only explanation. That's it. Any questions?
David Alexander. These statistics are based on all of the New York City areas that's covered by the CSBG?
That's right. Each course. Go on. Sorry.
No, that was good.
Okay.
The next question is, do you have it per community? Do we have numbers per community? So that we can see if anything is that we need to do to maybe applaud them or try to increase a better turnout?
Yeah. So part of the oversight, so like my staff and Joe's staff and the literacy staff, we monitor that at a contract level. So just as we roll this up, like every portfolio, like what the sums are, we could look at it by the neighborhood. I think the best way and the most cooperative way, and that's not necessarily this presentation, but I know Joe's and his team have presented many times about the NABs and the meet and greets. That would be a very good time for us to have this kind of discussion. So if we've made 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 different investments, and we're going to meet with the agencies, especially when you both want to applaud success and then give encouragement for the folks who have it, like we could do some information about what the performance has been lately. That would be a good and a practical opportunity to have that kind of a discussion.
Yeah, and the community might be able to get involved.
It's going to allow us to be able to track participants. So let's say the example that I gave before, that there's a lot of, there's no SYP programs in one area, but they go to the other end. So with this new system, we'll be able to see who's getting services in a particular area, or who left that area and went to another area. So how can we connect them that way? This system hopefully will do a lot of things that we're now not able to do, like except to go through each program and then figure out what's happening in Brownsville. But we should have that up and running in March of. No, it's a great question.
Are there other questions? All right. Well, hearing none, we certainly look forward to providing this report again next year. I will warn you that as soon as we get used to something, external forces try to change something else. So, the past couple of months, my staff has been reviewing a whole range of new performance indicators that have been rolled out. So, yes, the format will change next year, but we will figure out a way to digest it as we have here, so that so it works for you. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. So I'm going to ask again if there are any other questions regarding our report. It's a lot of information for those who have been on the board this last year. CAB members contributed a lot of input to this report, and you know that at recent meetings we've kind of touched on different aspects of this report and feedback and so forth. So this is kind of the rubber meets the road in terms of CAB involvement. So for all those that had input and all those that asked questions and really contributed to this report and supported DYCD's effort to complete this, I thank you. But if you need time to look at this and have questions later, certainly we'd be open to that. Email DYCD or myself, and we can address any questions or any concerns regarding this report at the next meeting, because this is a lot of what we're here to do in terms of this report. You tried in 10 minutes. You're getting better, Mike. You tried, but this is good stuff. So any other questions regarding that? Okay, so we have the votes in for the chair, for the 3 candidates, tightest race I've seen for any nomination. It was only separated by two votes between all 3 candidates, but congratulations to Ariel, who has been voted in as the chair of the Strategic Partnerships Committee. Let's give that hand. And effective the next committee meeting, she will officially assume that role, and then at the next board meeting, will assume the role as the part of the executive committee. With that said, with Gloria Benfield's position, with Gloria Benfield coming off the CAB position, the secretary is now going to be vacated. So out of the governance committee, I'm sure you'll see notices in the form of an email come out for those who would be interested in that position. So if you want to give some thought to that now, that's great. If you want to know what that position entails, we'll certainly give you feedback about that, but certainly that's one at the next board meeting that we're going to vote on.
Just for the record, Helen Hines Foreman appeared. So we have a quorum over 25.
Thank you. Good to see you. Any new business we need to discuss? Well, first, any old business? Any old business that we need to discuss at all? Okay, any new business? Yes, Mr. Alexander.
David Alexander, got it now. I don't have to
I
say
got you. You only spoke a few times.
I went to see Aladdin yesterday, and we went to a meet and greet. And at the meet and greet, they were trying to outreach to communities, communities of people of color, to see how they can get more of them to get involved with coming to the theater. And so what I told them, I said, well, I'm on the community board and I'm a member of DYCD, and that if they would, I know a few years ago they used to give tickets to the community board to pass out to whoever comes, discount tickets, but they had stopped doing it. So I was just wondering, what is our relationship with the theater district? Do we have one? So that we can start getting people interested into in getting involved with the arts outside of their community.
So the question is, do we have a relationship with any theater organizations to be able to furnish ticket sales in the communities to be able to attend the theater?
Right.
We have relationships with the museums, and we do have relationships with some of the artistic community through the Department of Arts and Culture. However, when they give us tickets, it's usually for the young people. We're not allowed to take them for ourselves or for adults. They're given to us on behalf of the young people. But if I were you, I would get in touch with them directly, because they do have programs where they give tickets out. It's the Department of Arts and Culture. Cultural arts.
Because I do have a connection too, but I just wanted to see how do we have a relationship with them per se?
We do, but
I guess it's Broadway, I'll put it Broadway. So I should be specific.
Yeah, no, I don't know.
Thank you for that. Any other new business? Okay, so just a couple of notes for all those that brought desserts, thank you. So we have desserts and stuff in the back. If you're watching what you're eating, I'm sorry for you, because it's holiday time. So this is the time to indulge. We can all work out and watch what we eat after January 1st, but you are all invited to share and, treat yourself to the desserts. I want to thank everyone for attending the meeting, for us to get quorum. Even though we didn't have quorum at the start of the meeting, I'm happy that we did midway through the meeting, so we're able to vote on some of these things that we need to. I know things happen, sometimes we make commitments and sickness seems to be going around, so aside from that, you know, we really would like you to make the meetings as much as possible so we can be able to participate and be able to, you know, vote on these things. So I appreciate you doing that. I want to thank the DYCD staff, everyone here for all that they do. I want to wish everyone a happy holiday, a healthy holiday season. You all know I work in retail, so as much as I love to see you, I don't want to see you on December 24th, you know, with the last minute shopping driving me crazy, but this is what I do and this is my season, but thank you for all you do, wish you a happy holiday season, and we certainly look forward to the next board meeting. And if that's it, I'll entertain a motion now to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
There's never a shortage of motions to end the meeting. It's been moved by Gloria Benfield, second by Linda Walters. All in favor say aye. Aye. So moved. Enjoy your holiday season. Thank you.
We have plastic bags, you can take.